we're here today is to follow up on some pretty startling reports of waste, fraud, and abuse in our government that took place over a number of years, that took place across a variety of state agencies, that took $18 million of taxpayers' money, and it was all perpetrated by one individual and companies associated with him. And this would be unacceptable at any time, but at a time like this where every dollar that we have is precious, where our schools are not getting paid, where our healthcare institutions are teetering on the edge, where our child care are having to go and run down their line of credit because the state can't pay its bills, $18 million is even more important today than any time in our recent history. And I will just draw your attention to one fact. If you went last night on the Comptroller's website and looked at the general revenue fund balance of the state of Illinois last night had $55 million in its checking account. So in essence, this one person was able to defraud the state of 1/3 of the total assets that we as the state of Illinois had yesterday that could have gone to pay hospitals, that could have gone to pay child care, that could have gone to pay our schools. And this can't be allowed to happen. And so the message, I think, here is that those of us in the legislature, this message better go forth, that we're going to be, rooting out this kind of waste and fraud at every opportunity. We're going to work with those in law enforcement and those in authority to be sure that this kind of thing is not perpetuated, that there are systems in place to protect the tax dollars of this state, and this kind of thing, should not be allowed to happen. We had here both a failure of people that allowed this to happen, but more importantly, we had a failure of systems that allowed this to happen across multiple departments over multiple years without being detected. And you're going to hear a lot about villains today. And there are plenty of villains in this piece, who were engaged in forgery and double dipping and ghost payrolling and no work contracts and illegitimate expenses. But I also don't want to let this day go by without mentioning that besides the villains, there are some heroes here also. And there were heroes, and if you read the Inspector General's report, of workers down in the bureaucracy who attempted to flag these expenses in numerous departments, who said this is not right, who refused to pay some of these. Many times they were overruled by their superiors, and the payments were still made, but they kept objecting, and they blew the whistle. They reported this to the appropriate inspectors general. And to any state worker who is out there who is listening to this today or who reads a report of this, let the message be, if you know of wrongdoing, if you know of fraud, if you know of waste, if you know of abuse, contact the Inspector General for your department, because we need to take this seriously. Your concern will be acted on and you will be protected. So to those who were dogged in reporting this abuse, we want to say thank you. Don't know their names, don't know who they are, exactly where they are, but thank you for bringing this to light. And thank you for Inspectors General Meza and Kane for then pursuing this. And it was their report who brought us here today. So there are a number of questions that I think we'll want to have answered today. How could our systems fail us to detect this not only within a department, but repeated similar abuses or identical abuses across a series of state departments? What steps have been taken to plug the holes that have allowed those abuses to happen? What happened to those who were involved in the wrongdoing? What is the state of Illinois doing to recoup the $18 million of ill-gotten gains that these people have made? And what laws do we need to change? And I believe when the Inspector General, the Executive Inspector General testifies, we will find out that it is only because of an exception in the law that this wrongdoing was even made public. And we need to change that law. And I think all of us intend to continue to be vigilant and continue to do what we need to do to be sure that the tax dollars in this state are protected. And Representative Franks, do you have a statement you'd like to make?
I do.